Hello and welcome. My name is Brianna Schiavoni. Oftentimes I go by Bri. And I am here this month to discuss the wandering nerve, the vagus nerve, as recently coined by Resmaa Menakem in his beautiful book, My Grandmother's Hands, the soul nerve. So this is a re-recording of part one of a four-part series with real intent here to introduce the concept that we as very primitive animals have a few things that we can do at any given time to engage this soul nerve in hopes of engaging the parasympathetic nervous system response, combating what I think we all oftentimes live unconsciously in, the sympathetic nervous system response, also known as fight, flight, or freeze, sometimes referred to as flipping your lid. The soul nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It reaches into most every organ, including the pancreas, the throat, the lungs, the heart, the stomach, the liver, spleen, kidney, and gut. It does not, however, connect to our higher order thinking. It connects directly to the brainstem, your lizard brain, which has zero capacity for thinking. 80% of vagus nerve fibers are sensory nerves that communicate messages from our body back to the central nervous system. And one of the main purposes, really, of the soul nerve is to receive fight, flight, or freeze messages from the lizard brain, to spread them to the rest of the body. But there's also another purpose here, and that has to do with an opposite message. It's also responsible for sending sensory feedback in the form of a message. It's okay. You're safe right now. You can relax. So there's countless benefits to stimulating or toning this soul nerve, vagus nerve, including blood glucose regulation, mood, energy, and stress management. When we stimulate the vagus nerve before a meditation practice, it can also help us to go deeper into the practice itself. So over the four-part series, I'll introduce various different ways in which we can engage the nervous system to work to our advantage so that we have more fruitful outcomes in meditation, but also so that we can use these strategies and skill sets in moments when the threat is internal. It's a rising or a falling of blood sugar. The threat is internal. It's the criticism of the mind about who you are, what you've done, what you're capable of doing. Or maybe even when the threat is external but is not truly a threat. A boss approaches you about something, a child has a temper tantrum, your spouse has left dirty dishes in the sink for the umpteenth time. So today we're going to bring awareness to the sensory system that is our sight. And I will go ahead and ring a meditation bowl for a formal start, but the eyes will remain open. And I'll use the same bowl to help us exit the practice, feeling free to linger in the sound as it resonates and listening for my cue when truly to transition back. All right, we'll begin. So with the eyes open, go ahead now and lift your gaze up and away from the screen. Up and away, looking out as far in the distance as you possibly can, as you begin to notice details of what you see. Without words, almost like you're an alien from outer space, you have no language system to truly describe what you see, so instead, let the eyes be like sponges, sponging details, colors, textures, shapes. And as you notice these details, begin to slowly bring awareness closer to self, looking now less far from the face, maybe midway between the farthest place you can spot and the closest space you could investigate. In that middle ground, also looking for details, shadows, patterns, noticing things you perhaps hadn't noticed before, and letting any dialogue, any feedback in the mind space just be like a white noise as you investigate with the eyes, coming now even closer to the body, maybe about a foot in front. Searching, absorbing, sensing into this field of sight. When that feels complete, maybe bring the eyes up again and back out as far in the distance as you can see. Before again, scanning closer and closer still. Doing that a couple of times in whatever pace feels natural. And knowing that as you're practicing this, zooming out and zooming in visually, you're practicing what is called oculocardiac convergence. Something that we know is used to reduce anxiety and panic by repeatedly converging the eyes on a nearby focal point and then shifting to a distant focal point, just like animals, scanning our environment for threat, far off, close up. But in this case, hopefully you're finding no threat, instead just visual stimuli. From here, like an animal, scanning, we need to help the soul nerve know that 360 degrees around us is safe. So we'll do that with a little movement, a little yoga, inhaling the arms up. Before exhaling to turn in one direction, the arms come down to follow, twisting from the base of the spine up towards the neck. Looking as far off in one direction as is comfortable. Before inhaling, arms reaching up again, back to center. Exhaling to pivot in the opposite direction. You can hold that twist for a couple of breaths, or you can invite with every inhale a motion back to center. Exhaling, opposite direction. Checking out your surroundings, left to right, front to back. Before landing here again in center, hands coming to the thighs. This time as you inhale, a seated form of cow. Let the chest lift, the gaze lift, the back arch as you look upward. Exhaling to round out through the back, chin moving towards chest as the gaze looks downward. Again, you can move here slowly, holding each posture for a couple of breaths, or you can let breath guide the movement. Inhaling to smile with the collarbones, lift the gaze, lift the tailbone, looking up. Exhaling, chin tucks, back arches, belly rounds, looking down. You can eliminate the movement with breath, these yogic postures altogether, and again, just scan in that 360 degrees. Whichever way this feels best for you, know that on a very primal level, we are engaging our sense of sight to cue the vagus nerve to the true safety of the environment that we're in. The next time you come to a neutral position, pause and let the eyes close. And as the eyes close, take a moment to just adjust, making yourself even 10% more comfortable before really and truly beginning to hone in on what now appears on the backs of the eyelids. Perhaps it is solid black, but oftentimes there is a light, a pattern, a movement, a texture. Imagine yourself sitting back as you would in a movie theater. The screen drops like the eyelids close, and you just watch. Watching now to see whatever plays itself out on the backs of the eyelids, as you're reminded of the only task at hand, which is to just see. Just see. And as you just watch, whatever it is that unfolds there, maybe you notice mental pictures. Maybe you can hear self-talk. Just like the audience member, can you bear witness without drawing conclusions? Instead, by just watching, letting any noise be like background. Just watching. At first, the external environment, now the internal. We begin to scan from the eyelids down into the belly. Resting the attention, perhaps, in an area a couple of inches behind the navel. Here in the pit of your stomach, can you find breath? Can you watch breath moving in and out? Maybe it doesn't extend all the way down into the belly, and that's okay. But if you were seated here, down in the belly, can you look upward and find breath? Do you see it in the nostrils, in the throat, in the chest, in the ribs? Can you watch it moving in the back body, the front body, the side bodies? Is it easier to watch if you assign it a color in your mind? Perhaps a peaceful color, inviting that now with the next inhalation. And watching it enter your respiratory system and extend. Maybe you want to breathe out the same peaceful color. Or maybe it's helpful to assign a different color to the exhalation, symbolic of whatever it is getting in the way of this practice. Maybe some physical tension, some mental working, efforting, some form of distraction. Maybe it also has a color or a texture. And as you inhale that peaceful color, you can imagine too an exhalation of that more nuisance color, texture, obstruction. Inhaling perhaps into an area that feels tense, stuck. Exhaling and watching that area perhaps even dissolve. If this is difficult for you, that's okay. No reason to judge, criticize. Instead, just take that seat, an audience member, to all that is, just as it is. Just see it. Just watch. No matter where you are in the practice, it's fine. But let's begin to rub now our hands together, creating friction, warmth, a little fire. And once you feel that warmth begin to build, take the hands and cup them over the eyes. Feeling now that radiant energy absorbed by the orbs of the eyes. A moment here of gratitude for self and for sight. Listening for the sound of the bowl as simply an invitation to transition back. Perhaps with an exhalation, the chin will drop towards the chest. The eyes can open away from a screen, adjusting back to the room that you're in, noticing again details in front of you, perhaps to either side of you, before lifting the gaze up above the screen, looking out once more into the horizon. Before we close this practice in conversation as Sangha. You can find me here on Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, may you be well.